Good morning, Rover fans. Welcome back to the garage. Today we are going to be getting quite serious, and when I say we, that's me and Spitfire Trading. He's coming round. I've helped him with his cars a fair bit, so he's come round to return the favour and help me. What I intend to do today is gap that bonnet, bolt it down properly because it was only ever just really thrown on. Gap it, and the reason I'm gapping it is because I want to get the front wings off. I haven't decided which one to do first, but I'll probably do that one. Yeah, Spitfire Trading can start drilling spot welds, strip it down the front. I'll write a whole load of reference measurements from the bonnet to the top of the wing, and from that near side front door to the rear edge of the wing, and then we can use those to line up the new one. I bought myself some new gloves because the other ones, well, I couldn't find them, and I've bought some new spot weld drill bits as well. So that is the plan, and when Spitfire Trading turns up, I should have cleaned all the shite off the car, got a bit of a working area around it, and then off we go. Right, just cleared up a bit of space around the car. Good. What's not so good is I went to pull the bonnet release cable and it did that. Bonnet is currently locked down. So in the middle you have a plunger, it goes into the receiver in there, and I can't get to it, so I might have to take the front off anyway in order to get to the bonnet hinges, to undo the bonnet hinges, to lift the front of the bonnet up, reach over and undo that the hard way. So quite an annoying way to start the morning. Never mind. Got the front grille off. We have something of a very minor result in that only one of the bolts is done up, the other one is just finger tight on that side. Same on this side, that one's done up, that one isn't, or other way around. You can just see. So need a very thin spanner, and then I can probably undo those remaining ones. Actually had to remove the front bumper. It needed to come off anyway, but it just made it easier to get in. But now bonnet is open. I'm going to wait for Spitfire Trading to get here, and then hopefully he can hold it up while I get in there with a spanner and then do the top catch. Well, after a surprise fail, we had a surprise win. I just yanked the bonnet and it released. So top quality Rover engineering, but now I don't think it was full closed. I think it was like stage one, or just hanging on in there, because I think the only reason it got closed is because stuff got piled on the top. Anyway, bonnet can now be opened and removed in order to then put hinges back on, gap it again. Really strange, but never mind. It's been a really long time since I've seen under here, and I have to say, given that this car, I tidied it up and it looked lovely when it went to the Classic and Restoration show at the NEC. Since then, obviously, it's been unloved. It was sat outside for a very long time, then it came inside, but it's not actually been in that long. But yeah, I have to say, it's not looking bad at all. I was expecting a lot more flash rusting of stuff and a lot more other things to go wrong. Once the car is painted, all of this will get cleaned up and look lovely again. But things like that top rail, that's really not that bad. Rad bracket, all my little fixings. So yeah, pretty happy with that. So gonna undo this bit, and then we can open and close the bonnet as much as we like, and it shouldn't engage. Right, my minion has arrived and he has just helped me re-gap the bonnet. This isn't the original bonnet for this car, quite obviously, and the hinges have never been released from the bonnet, so we haven't gapped it up and down. We just bothered doing left to right and front to rear. But yeah, that is nice this side. Then the side that had the big load of pallets land on it, the gap in the middle is completely wrong. I've just walloped that with a hammer to move it over so we can shut the bonnet. But the top corner and bottom corner, they're all good. So now I'm just going to draw some lines and then write on the gap. This is probably overkill. You don't really need to do this because I'm doing both wings at the same time, so I can re-gap it myself if I need to, you know, both, and make it nice. But my general approach is, if I know that that was 4mm, it gives me a starting point for when I go and put the new bonnet on. And I'm going to do the same down here as well. This wing from factory was always out a bit at the top. It's right level, but if you look at it from top, you see how this is sitting out of there, even with the door shut, so it wasn't exactly ideal, so that might need massaging in. The reason I'm changing this wing is not just because of that big dent there, because that could probably be fixed, but there is evidence of filler and a rusty bit here. The actual wheel arch lip is good, but when you come back down to here again, it's disappeared, and behind the valance, it's not exactly too clever. So, for the sakes of being a nice car when it's finished, I'm removing that wing, doing that one as well, because I have wings in stock, and it would just make for a much nicer finished car. Right, so bonnet is now on and gapped. Measurements written on it in key places. Same down the door. Again, it's not precise, but it just means that you know roughly where you're going. I am now going to get this wheel up in the air, wheel off, and then start working out what I'm doing with this bit. I might go and get another wing so that I can mark the profile, so that I can know where to cut that off, where to fold it, and sort of the shape in there. Here we have a genuine Austin Rover wing. And I'm just gonna make a template from this. I'm gonna make a bit that basically sits along here, so I can offer that up, and then another separate piece which is just a copy of that there up to here where that line is, and then I can offer that up to the back of the car, join the lines up, and we should be golden. Hopefully you can see what I've done. Drawn a line from that seam extending onto the wheel arch back there. Then I've got my bit of cardboard and I've just traced all the way around it down to there. So now, with my bit of paper, I'll follow that line across. I haven't marked it up yet, but you kind of get the idea. That'll go on there. That'll give me the shape I need. And I'm gonna probably leave it on that board to give it a bit of stiffness, and cut this that way and do the same with the actual shape of the arch lip, and then I'm not pissing in the wind trying to make up something in free air. Okay, so I'm still working out how it is I'm gonna rebuild this bit. Got the car in the air on an axle stand under the axle. This is another wheel arch repair panel. It's a pattern part, it's not Rover, and I could put that in, but the rest of the arch lip and the inner arch particularly are so solid, I don't see the point. But it is helpful because that also gives me a profile to work back to. So between that panel, this panel, and my cardboard templates, I should be able to get it quite good. So I'm going to start off by folding those tabs back. You can see the problem that these arch lips give you though, because if you look at that, it's incredibly narrow and it doesn't have any of the holes for the mud flaps. If you look at the original, if you look how meaty that is, right, look at the difference. So it's the other benefit of making it rather than relying on a repair panel. I've just given those little returns a bit of a twat with a hammer, and they're somewhere close. The radius is not right, so I might have to put a piece of bar in and hammer it around that to get a nice crisp edge. To make this bit, I'm still going around in circles. Yeah, no, he's not my mate. I'm gonna have to either make it in one piece up here and then another one there, because it curves in 3 directions. So you've got one curve that way, one curve that way, and you also need a return. Doing that with a hammer and chisel and some wood tools effectively is not easy. So I shall ponder further. I just put in the jaw of the grips, my shitty, I have those grips probably since I was about 12 when I first got a Rover, and I'm just using them to hold that bit. With a hammer I can get a tighter radius on there, which better matches the profile of the original arch. In fact, that might be a little bit too tough. You get me? Once I've welded a bit on there, I'm gonna have to dress it all anyway, but basically that now fits nicely. So I'm gonna go make up a piece of metal and just start experimenting with how I can bend it. Because if you imagine, well, I'll show you in a minute, but if I make an angle and wallop one side, it will fan that out and I'll get the curve going this way. Then I'll probably have to cut slots in the backside to bend it that way. But we'll have a play and see what happens. Here we have a piece of metal, massively oversized, but that's for reasons. And then we have Mr. Clark's strong arm folder, which is a pain to operate one-handed, but it's a good tool for someone like me who just dicks around, and I really should be sponsored by them. Other folders are available, they're all much of a muchness, but I have to say this one, for the money, it's actually been really rather good. So let's grab that in there, move that SD1 headlight out of the way. This place, by the way, has become an absolute bloody bomb site, but we have inner wings, steering wheels, number plates, you name it, Vitesse seats, it's in here. Oh, there's another sill there, rear lamp panel, fuel filler cap. Set of consoles, you name it. Right, wang that up to about 90 degrees. And then we can start trying to put curves in it. That'll be the fun bit. I'll go and get my outside vise and then begin the assault. Right, so just so I can explain what's going on, that is going to be that bit. So this thin edge is going to fill that bit. This bit is oversized because it's going to be cut and slotted. I will trim a lot of it off, but for first goings I'll leave it that big. So I need to hit this flange to compress the metal so that this side becomes longer than that side, and it will take a curve. It doesn't have to be too extreme either. Got my profiles, my other arch lip, a hammer and a vise, so I will just go start walloping. Can't really film this and show it at the same time, but basically I'm just running this up and down the edge of the vise here whilst hitting it with the round end of this hammer, and that is already putting a slight curve in it. So that edge of the table is dead straight. Can you see how it's beginning to bend? So I'll just work that up and down until that curve matches the wheel arch. You can see the curve that it's taking on, and it's not getting too thin either, which is nice because that can sometimes happen. So probably got too much of a curve at the top and not enough down here, so I'm just going to keep on working upwards and downwards until we get there. Whew, this is very much a game of slowly catchy monkey. I've just been offering this up to that wing and the car. That line represents that scallop line there, and actually the radius of curvature up there is fine. That line represents that line, and when I offer the two up, this area is still a bit gappy. So I've marked on this side, and now I know where to dress to get a bit more curve in there, and then we're getting very close. We are nearing much closeness. There's my piece. That's the inner wing, the repair panel inner wing. If I slide that in there, it's actually pretty damn good. No point doing that much more dressing on this because it'll move a lot easier when I've reduced this down in size. I've accepted I'm going to have to cut slots and weld into here, so I might as well do that now. So I'm going to offer this up to the car and the original wing, mark up where I think I need to cut, trim it off ever so slightly oversized again, then I can cut the slots, and I'll probably beat the rest of it on the car, clamp it in a couple of places, and then we will be very, very close. Right, don't laugh, it looks a bit of a mess now, but having cut slots in there, we now have roughly the right sort of curvature. So we can offer that up to the car, see what's what, do some more hammering, tapping, throw a couple of tacks on, and then work out whether or not it's going to look good. Let's do this live, as it were. Goes there, goes there. That's not bad. A bit more choppy down the bottom, because it really kicks in there. Oh, actually I don't need that bit. I could in theory just lock that all off. In fact, why don't I do that? That'll save me a lot of pissing around later. Yeah, so I could just cut that off there and start actually finalising this, which is good. Well, it's an awful lot of work to go to for what is quite a small repair really, but we are about the point where I can start welding and tacking. So I'm going to grab the grinder, nip these bits off, do a final trim in there. So there's a tiny bit of rust I want to get rid of, so I'll chip them back to that line probably. Taking care to reduce the amount of sparks as much as I possibly can, so I'll probably do more trimming of this outside than of the car inside. But yeah, get that cleaned up, zinc it, drill some holes through these returns ready for plug welding, then get the welder out. Okay, got my jug of Hydrate 80 and just painting a bit on that. I've done a tiny bit more de-rusting with the wire wheel, sander and grinder. I trimmed a tiny bit more off up in here and that lip, knocked a bit more out of there, and just basically took it back to bare metal. Now I'm putting some Hydrate 80 on, and then me and Spitfire Trading are going to go and get bacon and egg sandwiches and a nice cup of tea and power us up for the afternoon. I'll show you the front. Spitfire Trading has done a great job stripping all that down. There's a couple of threads on indicators and things that are going to need repairing, but oh, and he also found some more rust, which is just not a problem because it just is another reason why it's good to remove that wing. It's rust that you never would have seen. Ugh. 1 second. Never would have seen unless we'd started stripping the front down again. But yeah, in here all of this indicator area is going, which is quite unusual. But yeah, down here that's gone. I know there's filler in there. It's filler right up to here, so although that looks nice, the inner feels really good. I'm pleased with that because it just saves so much more fabrication time. But yeah, that wing's definitely going to come off, so that will be this afternoon's job for Spitfire Trading. I've bought some new spot weld drill bits, nice sharp ones, 8mm, so they can go in, bosh, take that off, and really get this project going again. Right, fully full of bacon and egg sandwiches, back at the car, and just doing the final tweaking. I've cut a bit more out of there. All of that's been rust treated and then zinc painted. I'm gonna get a biro or something thin or scribe and mark exactly where this is going, and then I can do the final shaping, tack it in, double check it with my little cardboard profiles, and then we should be good to go. Spitfire Trading is over there. He's popping out plug welds, spot welds with the spot weld drill, which I shall show you in a minute. So that's looking pretty good. It's just a bit more poncing around before I can actually weld stuff. That's my template. That is not bad at all. There's a couple of little, there's a flattish spot in there, so that as I tack it I'm going to wallop that up and in, but it's looking pretty good. I've just clamped that in underneath and scribed a line, so I'll pop this bit out, sand it off, whack that bit there. In fact, why don't I mark that so I don't forget. So basically there, it's a bit wants to go that way, and down here that I just want to nerf that way. That all looks good. And down here I'll cut a slot through there so that that will tuck in, and then we should be golden. We are very nearly there. I think that's good. We just need to, or I just need to tack it and then tap it slightly as I go to make things flow nicely. This is obviously gonna need filler. It's obviously gonna need a tiny bit of profiling. It has got filler in here already, which might burn out. I don't know why it's there, but basically, see that? So it's obviously been painted in the past, but there's no actual rust, which is odd. So yeah, gonna start tacking and welding and doing that sort of stuff. Right, I've just thrown some very small tacks in. My goggles. Weren't working, so I missed that one, but yeah, tacked it where it touches, which gives me the flexibility to move things if I need to, but actually it's hanging on there quite nicely. So it's just things like that. So you see it's low there and high here, and if there's, it's now broke my tack annoyingly, but you know, you get the idea. So I'm just gonna tack, weld, tap with a hammer, do what I do, get this thing welded up and on there. Okay, it doesn't look the neatest. Some are quite neat. The problem is being that my helmet for some reason does not want to react properly, but that is tacked as much as I want it. That all fits in there lovely. So it's just a case of now welding it all in, try not to put too much heat into it, and then we should be done. Well, there we go. That is all now welded in. It looks a bit shitty, but it actually isn't that shitty. I can't clean it off in here. I don't want to make too much in the way of grindings and sparks because I have a nice car in here I don't want to damage. So I have to wait for another day when I can roll it out. But that's in there. I'm just going to tosh some more zinc on it to keep it protected. And then I'll make the little bit in there. It's exactly the same process. I won't bother recording it because it's pretty boring. But there you go. So a bit of bashing later. Same process. Got my curve. Could have trimmed that off. Fit it to the car. That's the next patch. That shall go in there. Get it around the right way, like so. Just wait for the paint to go off, and then we can clamp him in and weld him. Right, it's getting dark. It's absolutely leathering it down. That is clamped in and ready to weld, but I can't be bothered to do it now because I will probably rush it and screw it up. So I'm going to call it there. Yes, this looks scabby and horrible, but trust me, that nipped off a bit of primer and you wouldn't even know it was done. So yeah, miserable day, but thank you very much, Neil.
No trouble.
Because he has pretty much got this front wing off. It's fighting us a bit because people in the factory thought it'd be really clever to put multiple spot welds in the same place, hiding them amongst each other. The 10mm bolts are undone down the back of there, but probably need to roll it out the front door and cut that bit off. The reason we did it this way is not to make as much mess in the garage, but it's long and boring. So anyway, that's the end of this video. See you next time.